We're back here on the channel for our 5 best bets for the college basketball slate here on November 26th. Of course, we've got some big tournaments going down. Of course, you still got the Maui Invitational. We're going to get to a game with the Maui Invitational later today or later in the video. And we also got a game, we got the tournament, obviously, at the MGM Grand as well. So some big college basketball games. Obviously, the two biggest games, Kansas and Duke, and Houston and Alabama. Some huge games today in the world of college basketball. And of course, we're going to give you the 5 best bets for the entire slate here on November 26th. And folks, if you haven't yet though, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. In a couple hours, we'll have our daily NBA predictions as well. Today is Tuesday. That means the in-season tournament. So go make sure to check out that video in a couple hours here on the channel, as well as at noon, or yeah, I believe at noon today, we should have our college football week number 14 predictions. It all comes down to this for college football week 14. Huge week. Every single team plays. It is the longest video I have ever made. I kid you not. It's about 3 hours long. Go check it out. In-depth breakdown on every single college football game played this week. Seriously, it's a long video. And my favorite bet of the day today is in that video. There's 2 college football games. If you watch, again, the first couple minutes of this college football video, you can find my best bet for today. I really like one of the 2 MAC games we get today. So go check that video out. Link is in the description down below, or it'll be on the channel in a couple hours at about noon. We've also got our PFL predictions here on the channel as well, so link is in the description down below, as well as our NFL predictions that are coming to the channel tomorrow. Okay, let's get into our first best bet of the day, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We are taking the South Dakota State Jackrabbits to beat Missouri State, and we like them obviously to cover the 1.5 points as well. But you know what? We're gonna keep riding the Jacks. They have won us bets every single game so far this season, other than the Northern Colorado game. Every other game, the Jacks have cashed for us. We told you yesterday, take the Jackrabbits to cover the 13.5 points they're getting at Boise State. And I read the comments. I saw someone doubting the Jacks pick. Trust me, I watch the Jackrabbits. They are good. They easily covered that Boise game. I told you again, if the Jacks were close at the end of the first half with Boise, they would be fine. They were down by 2 going into the second half, and they lost the game by 1 point. They actually won the second half. I mean, South Dakota State had a chance to win that game. Obviously, again, Boise pulled away with it, but the Jacks were in that game. They had the lead late in the game as well. It is what it is, you know? I think they have the lead. No, they tied it at the end, but still, the Jacks are a good basketball team, man. I like the Jackrabbits a lot. I like Owen Larson. I like Oscar Clough, and I think they're way better than Missouri State. Again, you get both these teams. This is still in the Cayman Islands, I believe, right? I think it is. Yeah, it's the Cayman Islands. Missouri State's first game of the tournament, they lost to, or their first game of the tournament, they beat High Point, and they lost to Boston College in their last game by 2 points. That's fine. I still think South Dakota State is the better basketball team. Again, we now, instead of picking them against the spread like we did in the Boise game, we get to pick them straight up on the money line, and I feel fine with that. I really do. Again, nothing that Missouri State has done this season tells me that they should beat South Dakota State. This is a team that's 4-2 this season. Their losses are to Butler on the road and to Boston College. Their wins, Missouri Southern State, Tulsa in triple overtime, UT Arlington, and High Point. Yeah, I mean, they'll get big nights out of certain guys. So the Boston College game, it was Des White, who is their leading scorer, who put up, I believe, 25 points in the loss to Boston College. Vincent Brady II is also a big-time player for them. He dropped 27 in their win over High Point in their first game of the tournament. But hear me out. I think South Dakota State's more equipped to win a win a game on a third consecutive day. I like the depth out of South Dakota State compared to what Missouri State has. I think South Dakota State's got more guys up and down the roster that can score compared to what the Missouri State Bears have. And again, I just like South Dakota State a lot more. Again, I like how this team plays. I like Oscar Clough. I like Kalen Gary. I like Owen Larson. These guys show up in big games, man, and they've been playing great basketball all season long. This team, again, is winning the Summit League, and until it doesn't hit, we're going to keep picking the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Trust me, we've hit on them multiple times this season. We hit on them as plus 12.5 point dogs yesterday, and they ended up losing the game by 1 point against a really good Boise State team. So again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. South Dakota State goes on a huge road trip coming up where they go to Montana, to Nevada, to Colorado, to Alabama. Trust me, guys, we're going to get some great value out the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, and we're going to keep cashing with South Dakota State when other people are looking at big favorites. No, you heard it here first. I've been telling you all season long, and I'm going to continue to tell you all season long. South Dakota State is our huge underdog team this season, and we're going to keep riding them until it doesn't work. But for now, they haven't failed us yet, for the most part. We've taken them in their last 3 games, and we liked them in their last 3 games. We took them in the opening game of the season when they were 6.5-point dogs. I told you to take them outright as winners, and what happened? They ended up winning the game by 7 points. We love the Jacks. They should be able to win this game here in the Cayman Islands over the Missouri State Bears. On to the bigger games now. I just had to get my daily dose of South Dakota State Jackrabbits basketball in here, but now we get on to the actual big games of the day. We start things off here in Maui, or we go to Maui now, with Memphis and Michigan State. Huge basketball game, obviously. You have Colorado and UConn that are going to play in Maui before this game. I don't mind, actually, Colorado to cover the 14.5 points, if I'm being honest with you. I think they have a chance to stay in that game with UConn. I wouldn't play it personally. If you want to play for earlier in the day before the South Dakota State game, I'd go to Creighton versus San Diego State. I think San Diego State's able to cover that 3.5 points against Creighton. Again, straight up winner, I think might be a little bit difficult, but I don't mind at all San Diego State covering that line against Creighton. I think that's great value. Plus 3.5, an 11 o'clock game if you want to get something going early. It's not an official pick, but I think if you want a game that I might play it early in the morning as well, just to get the blood pumping. San Diego State plus 3.5 doesn't feel all that bad against Creighton. I think they can win the game outright, but plus 3.5 feels even better. Okay, going back to this game now, Memphis and Michigan State. So it's the second game in Maui today. You get, of course, UConn and Colorado first. Now you get this game between Michigan State and Memphis. Obviously, Memphis won yesterday in that overtime game over UConn. They win it. The Dan Hurley technical foul obviously swung the game, got Memphis their 4 straight free throws to end up winning the basketball game. And for Michigan State, they dispatched of Colorado fairly easily. It was a close game to start, but again, in that second half, Michigan State really started to pull away. And ultimately, the overtime game yesterday that Memphis had to play against UConn is why I am taking Sparty to win this basketball game. I'm going with Michigan State. Again, Memphis just played a grueling overtime contest against one of the best teams in the country. I think now they turned around into this Michigan State game, and ultimately I think they lose. Memphis does have points. Now, they didn't do this in the UConn game, but they will have stretches and long stretches in a game where they just when they can't score. That happened in the San Francisco game. I'm not saying it's going to happen against Michigan State, but I think, again, with Memphis playing such a hard game yesterday, playing the extra time, going into overtime, and now you got to play a back-to-back and play a Michigan State team that, again, handled Colorado fairly easily in the second half. I think it's going to be really difficult on Memphis to win this basketball game. I truly think so. Again, Memphis has had a great run. They won 5 games in a row against 5 decent squads. Mizzou, UNLV, Ohio, San Francisco, UConn. I mean, those, again, they did not play any NIAAs in this stretch. They played, solid D1 schools in this little stretch here. I think now it comes to an end, though. I'm taking Michigan State. We're taking Michigan State to win this game. Of course, neutral site. I think Jaden Atkins, obviously, who's been their leading scorer all season long, and Frankie Fiddler. I mean, these guys have been performing this season for Michigan State. I do think they play pretty solid defense and better defense, honestly, than what Memphis does. And ultimately, I am taking Michigan State to win this basketball game. But I think the biggest factor in this game is going to be, these two teams I feel like are fairly evenly matched. I think they are. The difference, though, in this for me, Memphis played yesterday. Obviously, they both played yesterday, but Memphis had to play overtime against UConn. Michigan State kind of handled Colorado fairly easily. That's why I'm going with the Big Ten zone Michigan State to win this basketball game, and obviously to cover the 1.5 points as well. But we like Michigan State to win here against Memphis. Unfortunately for the Tigers, ending their little run here and propelling Michigan State to the finals of the Maui Invitational tomorrow. It's the only game we have for the Maui Invitational today. If you want to talk about, again, the other big game obviously being played, it's going to be Auburn and UNC. I think Auburn kind of handles North Carolina. I didn't make that an official bet, but I really think Auburn just goes straight through North Carolina, if I'm being honest with you guys. I mean, North Carolina, again, they did win. They did come back and beat Dayton, but I don't know. The way Auburn was able to come back and beat Iowa State, a lot more impressive in my opinion. I think Auburn's playing the better basketball. So that's an unofficial pick. Just like I gave you an unofficial pick for the Creighton game, I'm giving you Auburn in the UNC game as well. Let's go on to our next game here. We move on to a huge game in the MGM Grand Garden Arena. We've got the Houston Cougars taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. 2 top 10 teams, but 2 top 10 teams that have already lost this season. Obviously for Houston, it was a game against Auburn. Obviously Auburn coming off their big victory yesterday against Iowa State, and obviously they're going to be playing UNC today. Again, we think Auburn's going to win that basketball game, but Houston's only loss so far this season is Auburn. They are 3-1 with wins over Jackson State, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and Hofstra, and their only loss again is to the Auburn Tigers. For the Crimson Tide, we successfully predicted them to lose earlier in the season at West Lafayette against the Boilermakers, but their wins are UNC Asheville, Arkansas State, and McNeese, and most recently their win at home against the Illinois Fighting Illini. I don't mind Alabama in this spot. If anything, guys, it's a value play. It's a value play. Plus 140 for Alabama feels too good to pass up, okay? I think these two teams are very evenly matched. I think they are. So I'm going to take Alabama to win this game. I just like the playmakers Alabama has, man. They have too many guys I think that can take over a basketball game. I like their seniors, their two senior guards, and Mark Sears and Latrell Wrightsell Jr. I mean, these guys, they can play. Grant Nelson's had a really good season so far as well. He's averaging 14.5. He's leading their team in points, put up 23 in their victory against the Fighting Illini last week. I like the stars that this Alabama team has. For Houston, obviously, they're led by Emmanuel Sharp. They're led by LJ Cryer. Again, good players, right? No, Sharp's a junior, but Cryer's a senior as well. I still think Alabama's the better team. Again, Houston's loss is to a very good Auburn team, and Alabama's loss is to a good Purdue team. Obviously, again, I'd take Auburn in a game over Purdue right now, but, the math doesn't always work that way. I think, again, Alabama, as you look at these two teams and compare these two teams, I think Alabama has the better lineup. I think Alabama has got the better scorers. Again, I think with Sears, Wrightsell, and Nelson, I think they, again, and you can't forget about Phil on too, I think they've got a pretty solid starting unit that should be able to outscore the Houston Cougars. Again, Houston is a good defensive team. Obviously, that's what they were last season with Jamal Shed, who's now he's with the Raptors. I kind of forgot about that. Jamal Shed was a monster last year for Houston. Don't get me wrong. He was their entire squad. It kind of felt like at times. Kind of felt like he was just willing that team at points last season. Obviously, again, there was a lot of LJ Cryer as well, who was a dominant guard last year for Houston. I mean, Houston was a really good squad last year. And don't get me wrong, they're a really good team again this year. I just think, again, I really liked what Jamal Shed did for that team. He played tremendous defense. He was a great one for that squad. I think Alabama beats Houston in this basketball game. I think they do. Again, I think Alabama just has the better starting lineup. I get it. Houston was a very well-proven team last year. They returned a lot of their starters last season. But I just like what Alabama's been able to do this year. Again, I think the win over Illinois is huge. They were able to put up 100 points in that game. Again, you get 23 out of that one out of Grant Nelson, the senior, out of Devils Lake, North Dakota. I think Alabama, again, has the better starting unit. I like what Grant Nelson has brought to this team. Obviously, a former NDSU guy, now at Bama. I think Alabama's the better team, and I think Grant Nelson has another big day. So give me the Crimson Tide to win this game in Las Vegas. They will take down the Houston Cougars. Again, we get them at plus money. Again, if anything, guys, this is a value play. I think both these teams are very fair, very evenly matched, and when we get one team at plus money, we're going to take it. So give me the Alabama Crimson Tide to cover the 3.5 points, but at the same time, we do get them at plus 140. I like the odds on Alabama. Give me Bama to beat Houston at the MGM Garden. Next up, we move on to, this should have been brought down. My fault. We've got Stanford and Grand Canyon. And yes, we are kind of, straying away from the big games, but we have another really big game coming up in a second that we will get to in depth. But real quick, I just felt like I had to mention a game here between Stanford and Grand Canyon. Now, this game actually might be before Houston, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. I might have butchered the order here. It is. It's an hour before, my fault. But Stanford and Grand Canyon. Stanford's little run has to end, guys. It just does. I've seen enough. Okay, we are going to keep fading Stanford until they finally lose a game. Okay, this team is very one-dimensional. It's all Maxime Renaud. He is their entire team. Okay, they beat Santa Clara the other night at the Levy Center. It is what it is. Renaud had a huge game, 32 points, 16 boards. Massive night for him. Obviously, there was a game-winning shot by Jalen Blakes that won the game for Stanford against Santa Clara. It is what it is. Again, the Stanford run has to come to an end eventually, and the Grand Canyon Lopes are going to be that team that ends this little run. I'm serious. It ends now. And I get it. Grand Canyon lost to UC Davis. That's rough. But still, bounce back, beat Norfolk State by 18 points. A Norfolk State team that probably should have beat Stanford last week. Okay? Obviously, again, Grand Canyon led by their senior forward, Tyon Grant Foster, the former Kansas/DePaul product, now has found his footing, obviously, at GCU. This is a guy who averaged 20 points a game last year for Grand Canyon. Or I think he plays a 2 for them, not 3, but still. Again, I'd expect him to have a huge night here against Stanford. I think if Grand Canyon finds a way to stop Maxime Renaud, they win this basketball game. Now, my problem is, who's going to guard him? I mean, is it going to be Jacoby Coles, who's 6'8"? I don't know. I don't know who they're going to put on Maxime Reynaud to stop him. I assume they're just going to have to double down low. I hope they can stop the guy. Again, Reynaud, 7'1", senior out of France. He is likely going to be league bound next year. He, again, is that entire Stanford team. He is a stretch 5 who, again, can hit some shots. But beyond Maxime Reynaud, I don't think Stanford's that good. So here's my thing. Again, Reynaud is due for a bad game. He's had 4 really good games for Stanford. In the win over Northern Arizona, the win over Davis, the win over Norfolk State, and the win over the Santa Clara Broncos as well. He is due for a bad night. And now they're taking on the best team they've played all year long in the Grand Canyon Lopes, a team that was great last season, a team that was in the NCAA tournament, obviously, a team that is expected to return, I think, and win the WAC this year and return to the NCAA tournament. I like Grand Canyon to win this basketball game. Again, we've gotten 3 straight great games out of Tyon Grant Foster. I'd expect another big game out of him. I don't think Stanford's got anybody that can guard him. I'm serious. I mean, who are they going to put on Grant Foster? They're going to put Ryan Argowal on him? Argowal, great shooter, not the best defender. They're going to put Isaiah Sellers on him. They're going to put, Jalen Blakes. They're going to put Benny Geeler. Obviously, not going to put Benny Geeler on him. He's like 6'1". I think the Lopes win this basketball game. Again, yes, we are going to continue to fade Stanford until they lose, because I refuse to believe that Stanford's going to be a 7-0 team in the ACC. I think Grand Canyon does get them here. Give me the Lopes to win this game. It's a neutral site game. It's in, Palm Springs, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's in Palm Springs. It's where the Los Angeles Clippers G League team, I believe, plays the Agua Caliente Clippers, I do believe. But give me GCU. I like Grand Canyon to win this game again. I think they shut down Reynaud or find a way to limit Reynaud and force Stanford's other starters to beat them. And if they do that, Stanford is not winning this basketball game. Give me the Grand Canyon Lopes to get the job done and beat the Stanford Cardinal. As we go on to our final game of the day, and it's the biggest game of the day, from Las Vegas, the Kansas Jayhawks take on the Duke Blue Devils. Now, I know a lot of people think that, Kansas really shouldn't be the number 1 team in the country right now. I kind of agree. It's Gonzaga. Personally, I think Gonzaga is the best team right now in the country. That might be a hot take. I don't think it is. Again, just seeing UConn lose. Actually, no, it's probably Auburn right now, for being honest. It's either Auburn or Zaga. I think Kansas should probably be 3. I don't think they are the best team right now in the country, but regardless, they're better than Duke. They are. I don't know why Duke's the favorites in this game. I don't understand it. Guys, Duke lost to Kentucky earlier this year. Kansas beat a good North Carolina team. Again, I know North Carolina, what they've done recently, but still, again, UNC found a way to win last night against Dayton. So we're going to pick Kansas to beat Duke. They have the more impressive resume. Duke has already lost this season. Sure, they beat Arizona on the road. I mean, whatever. I don't really care that much that they won that basketball game. They lost to Kentucky this year. Their wins, again, Maine, Army, Warford, and Arizona. Sure, Duke, again, they have the bigger stars. You've got Tyrese Proctor, and obviously you've got the best player in college basketball right now and the likely number 1 pick in the NBA draft this upcoming year in Cooper Flagg. Hell, Flagg leads Duke in all stats so far this year. 18 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Literally, if you go on ESPN and you look at their stat page, their team leaders, it's Cooper Flagg, Cooper Flagg, Cooper Flagg, Cooper Flagg, Cooper Flagg. But Kansas, I think, is the all-around better team. I think Hunter Dickinson has a huge night. I'll be honest with you. I don't think Duke's got the squad to stop Dickinson. I think it's a huge night for him. We'll see again what Zeke Mayo puts up. Zeke Mayo has somewhat fallen back down to earth after his hot start, which, the former South Dakota State Jackrabbit, I got to show some love, obviously. He's the new version of Baylor Shireman, obviously. Shireman left for Creighton, and Zeke Mayo left Brookings for the Jayhawks. But, again, I still think Mayo is a very capable guard for the squad, and A.J. Storr, too. Of course, the Wisconsin transfer has progressively been playing better, I would say, for Kansas. Put up 16 points in the game over Oakland. He's kind of found his footing, too, with this Kansas squad. I think Kansas is the better team here, and I get it. You want to take Duke because of Cooper Flagg. Let's, again, hold off on that. Duke did lose to Kentucky this season. Kansas, sure, should they be the number 1 team in the country? Maybe not, but they still haven't lost compared to Duke, again, who has lost this season to Kentucky. And again, I think Hunter Dickinson is going to have a huge night. Sure, Cooper Flagg's going to have a big night as well. Obviously, Cooper Flagg should always have big nights. But I just think there's a matchup advantage here for Hunter Dickinson over Kaman, the starting center for Duke. This is a freshman, 7'2" out of South Sudan, again, and you've got Hunter Dickinson, who's been playing college basketball for years on end now. It's his fifth season, 7'2", obviously, he's a senior. He's just 5 years older than what Duke's putting out there at the center position. He's bigger, I would say, size-wise. He's a more dominant post player. I just think Dickinson's better. I think Dickinson is able to pull down more boards than what Malach is able to. I'm probably butchering his name, but still, I think Dickinson's the better player. And I think that's where this game is won and lost personally. I think it's, again, the advantage that Kansas has with Hunter Dickinson. So I'd expect a big night out of the senior center for Kansas and Hunter Dickinson, and that's why I think Kansas is going to win this basketball game. It's going to be Kansas to get the job done over Duke. Again, we like them at plus money. If we get a chance to take the number 1 team in the country at plus 140 and at 3.5, and getting them with 3.5 points, we're going to take them all night long. 1, it's a value play, and 2, I actually do think Kansas is the better team than Duke. Again, you get 2 powerhouses colliding early in the season, and we are going with the Kansas Jayhawks to beat the Duke Blue Devils. They will get the job done, and they will cover the 3.5 points and win outright to get us the plus 140 on the money line. So folks, thank y'all for watching our college basketball best bets here on November 26th. If you haven't yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Make sure to join us in a couple hours for NBA predictions, and a couple hours after that for our week 14 college football predictions as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.